World of Warcraft is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game released in 2004 by Blizzard Entertainment. Set in the Warcraft fantasy universe, World of Warcraft takes place within the world of Azeroth, approximately 4 years after the events of the previous game in the series, Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne. The game was announced in 2001, and was released for the 10th anniversary of the Warcraft franchise on November 23, 2004. Since launch, World of Warcraft has had 10 major expansion packs: The Burning Crusade 2007, Wrath of the Lich King 2008, Cataclysm 2010, Mists of Pandaria 2012, Warlords of Draenor 2014, Legion 2016, Battle for Azeroth 2018, Shadowlands 2020, Dragonflight 2022, and The War Within 2024. 2 further expansions, Midnight and The Last Titan, were announced in 2023. Similar to other multiplayer online role-playing games, the game allows players to create a character avatar and explore an open game world in third or first-person view, exploring the landscape, fighting various monsters, completing quests, and interacting with non-player characters or other players. The game encourages players to work together to complete quests, enter dungeons and engage in player versus player combat. However, the game can also be played solo without interacting with others. The game primarily focuses on character progression, in which players earn experience points to level up their character to make them more powerful and buy and sell items using in-game currency to acquire better equipment, among other game systems. World of Warcraft was a major critical and commercial success upon its original release in 2004 and quickly became the most popular MMORPG game of all time, reaching a peak of 12 million subscribers in 2010. The game had over 100 million registered accounts by 2014, and by 2017, had grossed over $9.23 billion in revenue, making it one of the highest-grossing video game franchises of all time. The game has been cited by gaming journalists as the greatest of all time and one of the greatest video games of all time, and has also been noted for its long lifespan, continuing to receive developer support and expansion packs over 15 years since its initial release. In 2019, a vanilla version of the game titled World of Warcraft Classic was launched, allowing players to experience the base game before any of its expansions launched. Versions of Classic for some expansions were released later, with minor changes. In 2022, Blizzard and Tease cancelled an unannounced World of Warcraft mobile spin-off game. In July 2024, 500 artists, designers, engineers, producers, and quality assurance testers voted to unionize with QA. As with other MMORPG games, players control a character avatar within a game world in third or first-person view, exploring the landscape, fighting various monsters, completing quests, and interacting with non-player characters, NPCs, or other players. Also similar to other MMORPG games, World of Warcraft requires the player to pay a subscription by using a credit or debit card, using prepaid Blizzard game cards, or using a World of Warcraft token purchased in-game. Players without a subscription may use a trial account that lets the player's character reach level 20, but has many features locked. To enter the game, the player must select a server, referred to in-game as a realm. Each realm acts as an individual copy of the game world and falls into one of 2 categories. Available realm types are Normal, a regular type realm where the gameplay is mostly focused on defeating monsters and completing quests, with player versus player fights and any roleplay are optional. RP Roleplay, which works the same way as a normal realm, but focuses on players' roleplaying and character. Before the introduction of World of Warcraft's 7th expansion Battle for Azeroth, both normal and RP servers were each divided into 2 separate categories, PvE servers and PvP servers. This has since been removed after the implementation of the War Mode option, which allows any player of level 20 and higher on any server to determine whether they want to actively participate in PvP combat or not, by enabling War Mode in 2 of the game's capital cities. Realms are also categorized by language, with in-game support in the language available. Players can make new characters on all realms within the region, and it is also possible to move already established characters between realms for a fee. To create a new character, in keeping with the storyline of previous Warcraft games, players must choose between the opposing factions of the Alliance or the Horde. Pandaren, which were added in Mists of Pandaria, do not commit to a faction until after the starting zone is completed. Characters from the opposing factions can perform rudimentary communication, most often just emotes, but only members of the same faction can speak, mail, group and join guilds. The player selects the new character's race, such as orcs or trolls for the Horde, or humans or dwarves for the Alliance. Players must select the class for the character, with choices such as mages, warriors, and priests available. Most classes are limited to particular races. As characters become more developed, they gain various talents and skills, requiring the player to further define the abilities of that character. Characters can choose 2 primary professions that can focus on producing items, such as tailoring, blacksmithing or jewel crafting, or on gathering from resource nodes, such as skinning or mining. Characters can learn all 3 secondary skills, archaeology, cooking, and fishing. Characters may form and join guilds, allowing characters within the guild access to the guild's chat channel, the guild name and optionally allowing other features, including a guild tabard, guild bank, guild repairs, and dues. Much of World of Warcraft play involves the completion of quests. These quests are usually available from NPCs. Quests usually reward the player with some combination of experience points, items, and in-game money. Quests allow characters to gain access to new skills and abilities, as well as the ability to explore new areas. It is through quests that much of the game's story is told, both through the quest's text and through scripted NPC actions. Quests are linked by a common theme, with each consecutive quest triggered by the completion of the previous, forming a quest chain. Quests commonly involve killing a number of creatures, gathering a certain number of resources, finding a difficult-to-locate object, speaking to various NPCs, visiting specific locations, interacting with objects in the world, or delivering an item from one place to another to acquire experience and treasures. While a character can be played on its own, players can group with others to tackle more challenging content. Most endgame challenges are designed in such a way that they can only be overcome while in a group. In this way, character classes are used in specific roles within a group. World of Warcraft uses a rested bonus system, increasing the rate that a character can gain experience points after the player has spent time away from the game. When a character dies, it becomes a ghost, or wisp for night elf characters, at a nearby graveyard. Characters can be resurrected by other characters that have the ability, or can self-resurrect by moving from the graveyard to the place where they died. If a character is past level 10 and they resurrect at a graveyard, the items equipped by the character degrade, requiring in-game money and a specialist NPC to repair them. Items that have degraded heavily become unusable until they are repaired. If the location of the character's body is unreachable, they can use a special spirit healer NPC to resurrect at the graveyard. When the spirit healer revives a character, items equipped by the character at that time are further degraded, and the character is significantly weakened by what is in-game called resurrection sickness, for up to 10 minutes, depending on the character's level. This resurrection sickness does not occur and item degradation is less severe if the character revives by locating its body, or is resurrected by another player through spells or special items. World of Warcraft contains a variety of mechanisms for player versus player (PvP) play. Players on player versus environment (PvE) servers can opt to toggle war mode themselves, making themselves attackable to players of the opposite faction. Depending on the mode of the realm, PvP combat between members of opposing factions is possible at almost any time or location in the game world, the only exception being the starting zones, where the PvP flag must be enabled by the player wishing to fight against players of the opposite faction. PvE, called normal or RP servers, by contrast, allow a player to choose whether or not to engage in combat against other players. On both server types, there are special areas of the world where free-for-all combat is permitted. Battlegrounds, for example, are similar to dungeons, only a set number of characters can enter a single battleground, but additional copies of the battleground can be made to accommodate additional players. Each battleground has a set objective, such as capturing a flag or defeating an opposing general, that must be completed to win the battleground. Competing in battlegrounds rewards the character with tokens and honor points that can be used to buy armor, weapons, and other general items that can aid a player in many areas of the game. Winning a battleground awards more honor and tokens than losing. In addition, players also earn honor when they or nearby teammates kill players in a battleground. World of Warcraft is set in the same universe as the Warcraft series of real-time strategy games, and has a similar art direction. World of Warcraft contains elements from fantasy, steampunk, and science fiction, including griffins, dragons, elves, steam-powered automata, zombies, werewolves, other horror monsters, time travel, spaceships, and alien worlds. World of Warcraft takes place in a 3D representation of the Warcraft universe that players can interact with through their characters. The game world initially consisted of the two continents in Azeroth, Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. 4 separate expansions later added to the game's playable area the realms of Outland and Draenor, and the continents of Northrend and Pandaria. As a player explores new locations, different routes and means of transportation become available. Players can access flight masters in newly discovered locations to fly to previously discovered locations in other parts of the world. Players can also use boats, zeppelins, or portals to move from one continent to another. Although the game world remains relatively similar from day to day, seasonal events reflecting real-world events, such as Halloween, Hallows End, Christmas, Winter Veil, Children's Week, Easter, Noble Garden, and Midsummer have been represented in the game world. Locations also have variable weather including, among other things, rain, snow, and dust storms.